Hi, my name's Antoinette and I'm doing my current event on fossils. The judge standard to do my current event is obtain, evaluate, and communicate information on how fossils provide evidence of past organisms. A. Construct an argument from observations of fossils, authentic or reproductions, to communicate how they serve as evidence of past organisms in the environment in which they live. B. Develop a model to describe the sequence and conditions required for an organism to become fossilized. The clarification statement of this standard is types of fossils, cast, mold, trace, and true are not addressed in a standard. Meaning to show the kids the fossils, you can either use a cast mold, trace, or true fossil. The additional resources I used, the first one is from Legends of Learning, which has five plus interactive games all relating back to fossils in some way. I have played one of the games in which shows you how to put together the bones of a dinosaur, which is more difficult than it sounds. And after you finish putting together the bones, it tells you about the dinosaur. In that same game, you find plant fossils, and afterwards it tells you how those fossils were formed. With a good bit of these games, you can write down questions or fill in the blank worksheets to make sure students are actually learning about the game. Or if you do not like the game, you can just use the information from the game to make your own quizzes because the information in the games are very, very informative. The second website I use comes from the American Museum of Natural History. This website includes a variety of things. You have games, stories, and hands-on activities and videos. Some of the stories are from real life, like told from the point of view of a paleontologist, so the kids can actually see a real life dig site. The site also gives a few hands-on activities such as creating your own miniature mosaic museum or looking at a bunch of bones and drawing what the dinosaur looked like. And I think this works very well for trying to differentiate your lesson on fossils. So the article I used is Meet Victoria, one of the most complete T-Rex fossils in the world. With Victoria, my students can see how a non-fully T-Rex looks because most of the T-Rex depicted are fully grown. This article also goes into great details about the way Victoria looks, using words such as bulky and her 10.5-ton weight. We also can speculate what kind of food she ate because it talks about how her teeth were broken for crushing bones and growing back in place. If you put that into context with the period she was from, you can guess the animals that she was eating. You also can discuss her natural predators as the article talks about her being bit in the neck and her healing process. Strategies to use in the classroom. Kids tend to love dinosaurs, and in learning about fossils, one strategy I will use is the exact experience. A lot of kids have watched at least one thing with dinosaurs. They are also really familiar with the T-Rex as being one of the most well-known dinosaurs. Fossils have always been a hands-on thing, so an activity would be with a hands-on one. The article talks about her teeth. I could get different modes of teeth from different animals such as carnivores, omnivores, and herbivores, and show how those different animals and different eating habits affect their teeth. The article talks about that Victoria had got an infection from another T-Rex. I could have our students to write a story on how that situation arise and draw a picture of the fight that might have happened to infect Victoria and thus causing her to become a fossil. One important strategy that would help is the visualization aspect. The article talks about things that would be easier to visualize, allowing my students to see a fully sized T-Rex compared to our teenage Victoria could help. They should also be able to see why Victoria is important for being nearly complete, and the difference between her and an incomplete T-Rex. Students will also need to see how heavy 10.5 ton is rather than reading it because they don't actually know what 10.5 ton is. So some of the activities I have with this article, one activity I can do is allowing my students to create a fossil. I think having different substance that the fossil can and cannot mold in, such as can a fossil mold in water, can a fossil mold in sap or clay, I would also have different materials too, because fossils just aren't bones, but they can be plants and squishy animals, and they can even be a food. Another activity would be to name different aspects of an environment that they would have to come up with with the animal or organism that might have lived there and what they look like with reasoning. For instance, if they had gills because they lived underwater, or a hard shell because they were small and their predators had sharp claws. And so you would draw an animal that lived underwater. I would say animal that lived underwater, and you would draw something with gills. Or I can reverse the activity and the article talks about Victoria living in a Cretaceous period. I could show my class a picture of her and have them draw her in the surrounding environment that best fits her size. The cross-curricular usage of this article, I could talk about math. The article discusses her weight as being 10.5 ton or 21,000 pounds. I could ask them, if kids weigh 125 pounds each, how many would it take to reach 21,000 pounds? And I can do this activity over with different objects and different weights. I can also relate it back to social studies. There is a social studies aspect from the article too. I can talk about how I can ask my students to research how many dinosaur fossils have been found since her discovery in 2013. With this, I could also have them discuss why is it so important in finding old rocks and bones and fossils, and also the social studies aspect, because a lot of kids probably think that all the fossils have been found, but that's not necessarily true. And my citations